Viktor Frankl was in a prison camp during Nazi Germany's reign in the 1940s. And he talked about people breaking bread and giving half of a meager amount of bread to somebody else. Is that weakness? I argue it takes the greatest strength that's available to humanity to do something that is so kind.
Welcome to the Kindness Podcast. I'm Nicole Phillips. Today's guest is a major player in the kindness sphere. It's the truth, Michael Neece. He's a futurist, a keynote speaker, an author, and he believes that kindness is essential to building the future we actually want to live in. Now, fun fact, Michael has delivered more than 750 presentations, many of them inside planetariums. Isn't that cool? That's where he developed his signature idea that kindness, we can look at kindness through a cosmic lens. He's the author of In Kind and Joy Unleashed, and he hosts the podcast, Our Future is Kind. Welcome, Michael Neece. I'm so glad you're here. How fun.
Nicole Phillips, thanks for having me over. This is great.
Yeah. Okay. So I just have to start with this question about the planetariums, because this is not something I knew about you, and I've known you for a little bit now.
Yeah. It's funny, when I was going to UNC, on the north side of campus, there's a planetarium called Moorhead Planetarium, and it was one of the astronaut training sites secretly during the 1960s and 70s, where Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Alan Shepard, John Glenn, like all the big names from the 60s and 70s NASA space program, they all came there to get trained in celestial navigation and stellar identification. So when I was a student there in the 1990s,
Whenever, yeah.
Sure. I found out about all of that history while also just standing in front of large audiences and telling them about Orion's belt, and there's the there's the moon, and talk about its phase for the night, and here you can find Mars, and all of those sorts of things.
I love that. And it brings to mind, I wonder if any listeners feel this way too. Anytime my thoughts or a conversation turns toward the night sky, I am immediately taken back to being an elementary school student.
Yeah.
There's something about the first time that you look up at the stars and someone says to you, "Do you see it? Do you see the bear? Do you see the archer up there?" Did you feel that way?
Oh, completely. I mean, I was a big space cadet when I was a little kid. I haven't changed since. I remember going there when I was in middle school, and I had some cousins from out of town, and my parents said, "Let's go do something fun." So we went and we saw a show at Moorhead Planetarium. Little did I know that a few years later, as a student, I'd be working in that same theater and presenting shows about Mars and about the moon and about the space program. And there's just something really awe-inspiring about realizing we are connected to the cosmos. It's all around us. We're a part of it. And you can look up at it and find patterns that are recognizable across the ages.
There's something divine about that, like something you can't quite put your finger on, but something just amazing and breathtaking. So I love that that's part of your core. How did you get, though, from there to leadership and kindness and the things that you speak about? Like, there's some time in there. So tell me what happened.
Sure. Yeah. So that was my first real big job that I did in my career. Before that, I was also a martial arts instructor as a high school student and early in my college career. But yeah, it's really funny because I went through that and then several other industries, and finally recognized that the one thing that held them all together is I love work that is in some way inspiring or in some way purpose-filled, so that you're helping others. I mean, in a planetarium, you're inspiring everybody to think about what is out there and where could we go and whatnot. But I also found I love people. I really, really love people. And my first boss at Moorhead Planetarium, his name is Jim Horn. He's a great human being. He still just lives nearby, and occasionally we go get a coffee together. Uh, he he taught me what it was like to be a good leader because I was a student leader in charge of the other students giving these shows. And so I had to train them on how to use the console. I had to teach them some astronomical concepts as well. And he brought humanity to that role. Like there'd be somebody who was struggling who went into the theater and didn't really introduce the shows the right way and in fact kind of turned some people off. And so Jim would sit down with me and he'd say, "What's going on in this young man's life?" And I said, "Well, I think it's neat that you're asking, but why are you asking? He didn't do the right thing. Shouldn't he just be trained on how to do it better?" And he said, "We are all human beings. We all come to any job with who knows what. You could have a sick relative, or you could be getting bad grades in school, or you could have just found out something great, and so you're really distracted. But what's going on in this young man's life? That's an important question because we care about him." And so it was from very early on that I learned one of the lessons in leadership is care about your people. And it's not just because it's perfunctory, it's because we should care about everyone. And so it was a great early life lesson.
Beautiful. You went into the corporate world for a little bit then? Is that right?
I did. I ended up working in corporate technical training positions. I ended up in pharma as a computer programmer processing clinical trials data to find out if the drugs are effective and if they have side effects and all of that. So that was a huge part of my corporate career. But it was toward the tail end of that I said, you know what? I really, really need to write down what it is about a workplace that works well and when it isn't working well, why. And I was like, well, it's all about kindness. So I need to find some sort of, business phrase that involves kindness. And I thought, well, in kind. It's that idea of like, what are we exchanging? And so I rebranded In Kind. Sorry, business people, but I've rebranded it. It's mine now. Um,
Good.
but it can belong to all of us. And really, it just means to do the kindest thing you can think of in any given moment. And that is living in kind.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I'm not the only one who thinks that's beautiful because you ended up leaving your corporate job. And really, I mean, I found out about you because other people within the kindness sphere are like, do you know Michael Neece? Like, he is doing what you're talking about. Like, this guy is a player, right? And I'm like, oh, how incredibly cool that you have just been able to like magnets, right? To align yourself and find other people who are doing this work of kindness. And you even started your own summit, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Last year, back in 2025, on World Kindness Day, we did the Human Summit. Kevin Hunting was the founder of it. I was his co-founder. He invited me to go along on that experience. And then we had these amazing advisors. We had some great, keynote speakers who joined us and a couple of celebrities who, were sandwiched in the middle and talked about kindness and community and finding yourself and kindness to self and those sorts of things. And while I appreciate all of the accolades and the kind words, I mean, you and I both know this is not something that any one person does alone. And we're not the first we're not the first people either to say, hey, we should all be kind to each other. It's just we have a responsibility to pick up that what part of that blanket of kindness that we can and try to help drape it across all of humanity and keep us all warm, right? So I'm just one of the people doing that job, and coming from a heavyweight like you, I do appreciate those kind words.
Thanks. It's a when you talk about the kindness blanket and everybody picking up a corner of this blanket, what a great visual. What a beautiful, beautiful way to look at it. And also, I think that, when you say like none of us does it alone, I think there's something in that as well for the fact that some people look at what's happening in our country and they think it's too, or in our world, they think it's too far gone. And we don't give enough credit to the people who, or to the power of one person just loving one other person well in that moment. It goes back to the in kind title, right? Like in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an African proverb that says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night alone in a room with a mosquito. It's good, right? It's the perfect visual.
It's so good.
Yeah, and
It's so good.
it's just that idea that, if you convince yourself that you have no power and that you can't make a difference, then you'll sit back and let other people take the reins, and who knows what their motivations are. So if you have these motivations to help other people, it doesn't matter how small an act it is. Like you said, even if it's one person aiding one other person in a hard moment, it matters. It matters so deeply.
What has it mattered in your life?
Well, I think it's mattered in a lot of ways when I've not gotten kindness, when I've gotten some cruelty or somebody who's just indifferent. It's something that sticks with you. It's something that you remember. The person who slights you, pretends they don't see you, the person who walks all over you in a public workspace and steals your idea as if it's theirs. Those kinds of things, those stick with you forever. But equally, like I can name people who have been kind to me across all of the different industries I've been in all of the. I mean, if you asked me, in my fourth job, in my third industry, what one person can I name? I could probably name three or four just right off the bat if they were truly kind to me. And that feeling. The people who've lifted us up, and so Jim Horn, he definitely deserves some accolades. But I will name my high school English teacher, Dorothy Finlan. I love that lady. She is somebody who has just cheered me on across the years. I mean, she taught me for 2 years in high school. I didn't repeat grades. She actually taught me in 10th and 11th grades, and she also was my French teacher for 1 year. But she taught me how to write. She taught me how to think. She taught me problem solving and seeing a bigger picture. And it's something I carry with me. And I go and see her occasionally for a coffee. So um, you, you ask a very simple question: how has kindness mattered to me? It matters because these are people who took time, who didn't have to, who gave grace, and whether I'm deserving or not doesn't matter. They did it, and I adore those people.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about this idea of your podcast. Our Future is Kind is the name of the podcast, and it's this cosmic lens. So, how does kindness, and other than the fact of everything being kind of interconnected, which you alluded to at the beginning,
Sure.
what 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 is that you're trying to do with that podcast?
So, yeah, I was really deliberate in choosing the name for my company, which is the same as the name for the podcast. Our Future is Kind. I was really deliberate about that because if I'd said Our World is Kind, what strikes up in everybody's mind is the world is a certain way. We are in the world is a certain way. And so we think, well, what we're swimming in right now is normal, it's regular. But if you think back to like 1900, the average lifespan was in the 30s. It's through science, it's through all of these great discoveries, it's through the miracles of medicine that it's more than doubled. And it's for the first time in all of human history that has been true. And so I wanted to conjure up something that gave us the idea that there is something to look forward to. And so Our Future is Kind made the most sense. And the idea of the podcast is very simple. We all own a piece of the kindness, journey. We all own a piece of future building. I mean, whoever's listening right now, you're sitting in your car, you're sitting at your desk, you're maybe washing dishes. Um, Moments of time are falling into your lap. What you do with those, whether you try to go and donate to a charity or you go and volunteer at a food kitchen or you're sitting and watching Netflix, whatever you're doing, it's building a future. So why not be mindful about it? Why not think about that? And why not deliberately state all collectively, we want a kinder future? We look at the news and it looks so scary. It looks so bad. And it doesn't have to be that way. I love this mind experiment. If you'll indulge me for just a moment, Nicole. Imagine that you have 1 million people in the world who are truly rich and powerful and don't like us, don't care about us. There are probably tons more who are, rich and powerful who really do care about us. But let's pretend that there is this group that really doesn't have our best interests at heart. 1 million people. Well, there are 8.4 billion people. So that means that for every one of them, there are 8,400 of us. Add your actions of kindness together with the other 8,399 people. Before you know it, we overwhelm them. We win, and our future will be kind. We can end up with no wars and children on all corners of the planet having food, having shelter, having healthcare, having education, being treated well. You have trauma-informed people out there supporting those who've gone through traumas. All of these things, we just have to focus. And so that's the goal of my podcast, is to get people on there who know a heck of a lot more about trauma-informed therapy or about volunteerism or about all of these different things to help us build a better, brighter, kinder future.
The end of your podcast, you ask all of your guests to envision a life 100 years in the future, 100 years from now,
Right.
and knowing that everything went right. We did all the right things and everything went right. What does the best possible future look like? So that's kind of you can set up the question better for me than I did, certainly, because you ask it all the time. But
You nailed it. You got it. Yeah.
Enough. People got the idea, right? And
Yeah.
what are some of the answers that people have given you on your show?
So we step out of that time machine and it's 2126 and people say, I look for the following things to tell me that it really is the best future. One of my favorite answers is I go into a classroom and all of the kids are engaged. They look well fed. It looks like they are being called on regardless of any factors, what clothes they wear, what skin color they have, or male or female. It doesn't matter. All of the kids are fully engaged. I've had other answers where people say, well, I want to go to a workplace and I want to see people where they are relaxed, where they aren't sprinting after deadlines, where they really care about the fundamental mission of their organization more than they care about some shareholder. They don't care about that. What they're focused on is doing the work, helping humanity. So those are some of my favorite answers. Just, looking at the kids, going to a workplace and seeing people calm and happy. One of the other answers that I will share is also, I walk down the streets and everything is neat and tidy and clean, and there's nature everywhere. You don't see anybody who's homeless and in need. And boy, that just says a lot right there, that in 100 years, if we get to that, man, I want to go to that future, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do. Well, then the follow-up question you ask is, what do we need to do for that to happen? Right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So do people actually have answers to that? Because you're talking about some major shifts in the way that the lens that we're looking through and the way that we operate.
Right. Yeah. Well, my own personal answer to that is we get rid of money. Money doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Right now, money is the one motivator that makes us, go to a job we hate. Or that, we have to sit there and do taxes and we have to frustrate ourselves through this situation of, like, how am I going to make the, ends meet? You have a child who gets really fundamentally ill. and they can't get health care because of something called money. I mean, human beings have been on this planet for 300,000 years. We didn't have money for most of that. We can get rid of it again. Smarter people than I am can come up with exactly how we do that. But getting rid of money is a big, big piece of it, because then you don't have people trying to seize um, positions of power because they know they can enrich themselves. You have people who only seek power because they know that they can do things for others. They know they can build a stronger community. They can help with health care. They can help build better bridges, or clean the air, clean the waters, that sort of thing. So for me, that's a big piece of the answer. And do I believe that it could happen in 100 years? Yeah, I do. I think it could happen. Do I think it can happen in 10 years? Probably not.
I love a dream bigger person, so that's super cool. I love it. I love it. And it infuses hope in the people around you when you even speak something like that out loud, right? I think there's something really powerful in just speaking it out loud. So you had mentioned, a lot of people smarter than you, or however you had phrased that. Like, there are leaders
Yes.
who will have to buy into a philosophy for the world to move in a direction that is kinder.
Yes.
How do we get I don't even want to blame it on the leaders. I'm more curious as to this fact that, like, kindness doesn't sell. Kindness is looked at as soft. It is, and I've been doing this since 2011. And since 2011, when I tell people I speak about kindness, they immediately think rainbows and butterflies and unicorns and bubblegum, and it's just this soft, yummy, sweet thing, but it's not something that people pay for because it's not a strategic advantage. Now, I push back on that a lot, and I
Right.
think you do too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great book by Brian Byro called The ROI of Kindness. And there's another book by a mutual friend of ours, Linda Cohen, that's called The Economy of Kindness. If you look in either one of those books, they cite enough facts and figures about how companies that employ more kindness strategies have better retention, have less attrition, have happier workforces, are more innovative, have better products that come out, have more longevity of their companies. I mean, it's just, the list is almost endless. And it's because if you go to a workplace where you're afraid of somebody mocking an idea that you have, or stealing an idea and trying to elbow you out of the way to get to that great promotion, there's no trust. That's not kindness. You have dog eat dog is the phrase, and all the dogs get eaten at the end. I mean, there's nothing left. You have companies that fall into ruins because people don't speak up. Because if they were to speak up and say, well, I spotted this problem, they get laid off. If you have people who speak up and say, hey, I have this great idea of how we can all come together and do better things, they get laid off. I mean, that's the way it works in a broken company, in a broken system. In a system where things are working really well, everybody is listening really, really hard to each other. And you don't get that if you don't have trust. And you don't get trust if people aren't being kind to each other. It's just that simple. And when people do talk about how kindness is this weak thing, I think of the terrible, the worst situations in our world that we've ever heard of during a mass school shooting, where a teacher lays themselves across a few students so that they take the bullets and the students are saved. That is an intensely kind act, and it requires a ton of courage. And so those are the moments that I say, well, was kindness weak in that moment? I mean, it wasn't a great outcome for that adult who was trying to save those kids, or that kid that was trying to save other kids. It didn't end up great for them. But they passed along something that is sacred, the gift of life to other people that couldn't go there. I mean, Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was in a prison camp during Nazi Germany's reign in the 1940s, And he talked about people breaking bread and giving half of a meager amount of bread to somebody else. Is that weakness? I argue it takes the greatest strength that's available to humanity to do something that is so kind.
Ooh, you made a case for kindness. I love it. What haven't I asked you that you want to share with people?
Stop giving away your power. Stop giving away your power. Things can feel hard, so go meditate, go take a quick walk, go hug a relative, have a nice healthy meal, and then get to work on something that you care about deeply. Don't drown yourself in endless binge watching of something. Don't doom scroll. You're giving away your power. And when you do that, giving away your time is giving away your power. Stop doing it. Find ways of plugging in, go volunteer at that soup kitchen, give $20 to a micro loan for somebody in a third world nation to get resources that they need. But stop giving away your power thinking, oh, the world's too broken. I can't make a difference. If you give $51 to a local animal shelter, it'll save a dog's life. $51 seems like nothing. It seems like you could sneeze away $51, but you give $51 and you say, well, what difference did I really make? Well, you didn't make a difference in the lives of hundreds of dogs, but to the one dog you saved, it means the gift of life. So don't give away your power. You have a ton. Own it. Go do something good.
Sometimes that something is being in traffic and letting that person have the right of way because you didn't lose your mind in that moment. You held your power because you didn't give away anger in that. You didn't allow somebody else to elevate you to a point of anger. And then you end
Yeah.
up being the most powerful person in the room when you can hold your tongue when you're angry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The person who loses their temper first loses. The person who can stay in the moment and be calm, you have a much better shot at helping more people and helping your cause.
Thank you, Michael, for talking with me today. Wow. And many thanks to you, listener, for choosing to spend your time here at the Kindness Podcast. And if this conversation with Michael Neece encouraged you, would you please encourage somebody else? Share it with a friend who's dreaming about a better future. Share it with somebody who just needs the reminder that the world that we end up with is the one that we choose to build. So please share this with someone. You can learn more about Michael and his work at ourfutureiskind.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to come back next time and just spend some time with us as we have another conversation about what kindness looks like in real life. In the meantime, remember, what you look for is what you see.